And I'm Alicia Culver. I'm with the Responsible Purchasing Network, and today we're going to talk about strategies to reduce battery waste. We want to talk about what are the environmental and health effects associated with batteries, and what are the environmental and economic benefits of using longer lasting and in particular rechargeable batteries. Which equipment works best with rechargeable batteries, and I'm going to show you a little survey that I developed for the city of San Jose, which you can try in your own facility if you're interested in making the transition to rechargeable batteries. How do you performance test them in a pilot test? And what types of rechargeable batteries and chargers should you choose? How do you specify those, and how do you recycle those? I'll be joined by Donna Sneerger from the California Product Stewardship Council, who is going to be talking about end-of-life strategies for batteries and other types of products. So this is an overview, actually, this slide of what I'm going to cover today, which is the overall strategy for reducing battery use and waste, is to recognize first that batteries do increase the price and the environmental impact of your equipment. So it's very important at the beginning, when you're just starting to think about what equipment you're bringing into your facility, to take into consideration whether that piece of equipment uses batteries, what type of batteries, how many batteries, and to factor that into the life cycle cost of that equipment. So it can be quite substantial, and you can use a relatively basic life cycle cost assessment, looking at the different types of batteries. This issue with San Jose, they approached us a couple of years ago because they realized that the paper towel dispensers in the airport were just chewing through 4 D-cell batteries just constantly. And so they were having to change them out, and the equipment would go down because the batteries would run out of power. And so they really started thinking about that and as an issue that they hadn't thought about when they first ordered the equipment that allows you to just put your hands up and have the piece of paper go down. So depending on where the equipment is, it might get more traffic or less traffic. It's going to impact the cost of running that battery-powered piece of equipment. Rechargeable batteries do work well for many applications, and they have a relatively quick payback. Now, people have long memories of trying something that may not have worked. And if you tried rechargeable batteries, say 5 or 10 years ago, you might have not had the greatest experience with them. But rechargeable batteries actually have changed over the years. They have improved dramatically in terms of their power, their ability to hold their charge. Actually, I brought some examples of chargers and batteries that you can look at after the session. And what I noticed is that they have varying different power levels. And I'll explain to you how you can tell how much power a rechargeable battery has. But they're very different. Standards that were set as good, high-performing rechargeable batteries are at the very low end of what's available today. So give it another try. If you tried it before, you may be pleasantly surprised. Also, use industry-financed recycling programs to reduce your battery disposal costs. Is anybody familiar with, or does anyone use what's called the RBRC program? Do you know what that is? Rechargeable Battery Recycling Corporation. It is made up of all the major battery manufacturers. And there was a time in which there were legislative threats to actually ban all batteries from landfills. And so the industry said, wait, we can recycle these batteries. So they set up an industry-financed program. And actually it can be quite beneficial economically for you to use the program. Once again, in San Jose, they had an experience where at their airport, they picked up a whole pallet of rechargeable batteries. And they were unaware that they could just have sent that entire pallet of batteries through the free recycling program, and instead sent it through their contracted battery recycling program at a significant cost. So especially when you have situations where you're taking large swaths and volumes of rechargeable batteries out of commission, changing out equipment, that is a really good time to take advantage of that free program. So the industry will pay, send you boxes. We'll be explaining a little bit more about how it works. And then you can just put the batteries in and ship them at their cost. And it's available to any jurisdictions. So why are single batteries a problem? They're energy intensive to manufacture, so the fact that they're rapidly disposable means that they have to keep being manufactured. And they're actually energy intensive and polluting, not only to manufacture because they're made in a smelting process, but also to transport them. They're very heavy. And if they're being transported, say an office supplies contract, maybe by express mail, you're getting these batteries sent to you so you can have them right when you need them, that consumes a significant amount of petroleum. So they're heavy to transport, and they have to be transported both the raw material to the manufacturing, the manufacturer to the retailer, and the retailer to the consumer, and the consumer hopefully to the recycling. There's a lot of points in which that battery is traveling around using fuel. They're rapidly disposable, so they have to be replaced again and again and again. That can be expensive, it can take time. And they're hazardous, they're corrosive, they're technically considered a hazardous material, and they can be expensive to replace them over and over and over again. So how are batteries purchased? There's batteries coming in under lots of different contracts. Often they're coming in under a hardware supplies contract. But they also might be coming, and I have MRO, which is maintenance, repair, and operations. So it could be a company like Grainger or Home Depot, one of those. And they may be coming in off contract, so someone may be just going to the hardware store and picking something up along with something else, or using a decentralized P card or other, just decentralized method of buying them. They can come in under office supplies contracts, janitorial supplies contracts, IT equipment contracts, or you may just have a specific contract for batteries. And so they're just trying to get a handle on how many batteries are being used in a facility itself can be a challenge. And it's complicated by the fact that they're often purchased in a decentralized manner as somebody needs them for a specific application. So what types of equipment use batteries? Hardware, flashlights, power tools, emergency lighting, communications equipment, pagers, cell phones, mice, handheld radios, walkie-talkies, office supplies, calculators, clocks, laptops, and then these hand-free towel soap dispensers. Even the water things sometimes have batteries you put your hands under. So all of them and more, I'm sure there's many, many more applications where batteries are being used. And so one of the things that's in the information that we provided to you today that I will be referring through, if you're interested in tracking your battery use, one way to do it is to use this form that we developed for the California Product Stewardship Council and CalRecycle, which is a battery usage and waste management survey. And so you can look at your equipment, and this enables you actually to, on each page there's an opportunity for 2 different pieces of equipment to look at the type of equipment, the battery size, the numbers of batteries that that unit uses, the number of locations that that piece of equipment is found at, the purchase cost of the battery, the brands and other information, and what kinds of batteries are you already using rechargeable or using single use. And so you can actually maintain an inventory to try to figure out where your greatest battery usage is. And specifically, you want to focus in on those where the batteries are getting changed out quite often, because a rechargeable battery is going to be more applicable to that type of application. You may want to set sustainable battery procurement goals for your organization, and that can be to reduce battery consumption, to create demand for longer lasting batteries. So sometimes you may not even it may not be practical to use a rechargeable battery, but there are other batteries that actually have varying power ratings. I know, for example, sometimes in the camera that I got before I was really thinking about it, that has the batteries that are not integral to it, I sometimes will use the really high-powered lithium-ion batteries that will last a lot longer so that I don't have to change them and replace them so often. But what I found is that there actually is the need for improved labeling of batteries. And if you look at batteries, some of them will say max, and some of them will say copper top, and some of them will say long lasting, and there's a lot of greenwashing associated with batteries, and there actually is not a systematic and centralized system for labeling of batteries so that the consumer actually knows this one lasts longer than that one, and that's something that actually really is needed. Increase your use of rechargeable batteries where it's practical. Use less toxic batteries. Batteries have different chemistries associated with them, and some of the batteries are thought to be more toxic. So for example, nickel cadmium, where cadmium is a highly persistent toxic chemical that builds up in the environment, can be replaced in some applications with nickel metal hydride, which is a less toxic metal. Promote sustainable manufacturing and recycling practices, and we're going to hear about the recycling practices by Donna, and create an efficient and safe battery recycling system. In the same way we talked about it for lamps, including lamp recycling in the contract, there's some that you can do with including battery recycling in the contract, or just separately participating in the industry-financed Rechargeable Battery Recycling Corporation program, recognizing that that free recycling program is only available for rechargeable batteries, not for the single-use batteries. So I'm going to start out with some strategies to reduce consumption of battery waste, and we already went a little bit through some of these. With choosing products that eliminate or minimize battery use. So here's an example of a push soap dispenser that was actually chosen by Santa Clara County. They made a deliberate decision not to use hands-free soap dispensers except in the hospital environment, where they thought there could be more of an issue with transmission of germs. Specify batteries that are long-lasting, lithium-ion instead of alkaline. Specify a minimum rated life for all batteries. Now, with rechargeables, they do actually have a rated life setting and on the label of the batteries. So some of them will say 1,800 milliamp hours, and some of them will say 21, and some of them will say 2350, and some will be 24. I actually looked at my recharger, which I have over there. I had 4 different batteries from different companies, and they all had a different power rating on them. But again, a better rating system is needed, especially for the non-rechargeable batteries. Choose rechargeable batteries whenever they're practical. Add them to your contracts and your core list. The core list are the most frequently ordered items. Now, if you haven't been using rechargeable batteries, they may be an afterthought and they're not on your core list, and so they might actually sometimes get minimal discounts. You want to put them on what's called a green core list to make sure that they're eligible for that greatest discount. And I actually learned about the core list specifically working on rechargeable batteries. So I was working for Santa Clara County doing this project on rechargeable batteries, and I was trying to figure out what the price was and what the discount was for the rechargeable batteries. So I looked at the contract, I looked at the terms and conditions, I looked at the core list. There was not a single rechargeable battery or charger on the core list, and which is what they had the price list on. And those items were given about a 45% discount. And then there was another part of the contract that said everything else gets a 10% discount. I did find single-use alkaline batteries on the core list. Those were getting a big, deep discount of 45%. But again, you know, once we're trying to switch people over to rechargeable batteries, it's very difficult if you're not getting a good, robust discount on those products. So I went back to this company, which was Grainger, and I asked them about this. And I said, how come there's no rechargeable batteries or chargers on the core list, and the batteries were only getting this really minimal discount? And they said, wow, we have a sustainability policy. We'll put some rechargeable batteries and chargers onto the core list. They did, and now those are eligible not just for Santa Clara County, but nationwide. Any jurisdictions will get that discount, and it dropped the price by about a third. So I thought, aha, this is a really good strategy. Get green products onto the core list. Get the products you don't want either off the contracts completely, so you don't offer them as an option, or at least get them off the core list, because it makes it so much more difficult to get people to switch if the price is higher. So this is a really important strategy for negotiating good, deep discounts for environmentally preferable products. Only took me 15 years to figure out this strategy. So choose vendors that offer a variety of sizes of rechargeable batteries. And this may seem really obvious, but when I was comparing the different office supplies companies, some of them only offered rechargeable batteries in AA and AAA sizes, whereas other vendors offered them in AA, AAA, C, D, and 9-volt batteries that are all rechargeable for standard applications. And so if your community is negotiating a contract and that's your single source for office supplies, and they don't have those products even available on that contract, it's going to be hard to convince people to purchase those products. They'd have to go off contract, and you have to show them where, and you probably wouldn't be getting a good discount on those. So choose vendors that offer a variety of sizes. So on some of the contracts that I've worked on, we have made it a requirement that rechargeable batteries, and this is actually something that San Francisco has done on their electrical supplies contract, there's specific language that says if you are offering single-use batteries in these sizes, you must offer rechargeable options in the same sizes so that those are available, as well as recycling services. Look for products with the rechargeable battery built in. When you're trying to get people to use rechargeable batteries, it often is easier if it's already built in and there's a convenient system within the piece of equipment. And there was a situation with the jurisdiction that I worked with, and they had done pretty well with regular flashlights, but the police officers didn't want to use the rechargeable batteries. And they just thought, it's just, and actually most of the staff didn't want to have to go back, remember to take the batteries out, put them in the charger, get up the next day, make sure it's all charged, put it back in the piece of equipment. You want to make it relatively simple. We were just talking about this over lunch. Anytime you can make it very simple for people, then it will increase dramatically the chance that they're going to use it. So they switched to these flashlights that literally have the plug, the battery built in, the plug in there, you plug the flashlight in the wall. You're done. In the morning, you unplug it. And so it makes it much more simple, and their usage of rechargeable batteries went up. The one caveat with that is you want to make sure that it's not so built into the equipment that you can't get it out of the equipment, and when the battery dies, then you just end up throwing away the piece of equipment. You want that rechargeable battery to be removable so that it can be recycled at the end of its life, hopefully through that free RBRC program. So the benefits of rechargeable batteries, they can be recharged up to 1,000 times. And so they really can save you a lot of money. They often can be used for more than a year. Fewer batteries need to be manufactured, which reduces the pollution. Again, fewer batteries transported, fewer batteries disposed of, and we'll hear more about how they are banned from landfills and must be recycled in the state of California. You can get green building credits through LEED for using rechargeable batteries. There is one point under what's called sustainable purchasing of ongoing consumables. And so that's just, again, this is under this LEED for existing buildings. If you want to get your building certified as a green building, not for construction, not for a renovation project, but for the operation and maintenance of that building, there are certain things that you need to do in order to get points, and it's the bronze, silver, gold, platinum. And the more points you get, the higher you get on the rating. And so if greater than 60% of your ongoing consumables has an environmental attribute, you will get that point. And rechargeable batteries count towards that credit. So now that you're convinced that you should buy because it's going to save you so much money and help protect the environment, which rechargeable batteries should you choose? Because there's a lot of different ones out there, different battery chemistries, different sizes, different brands. So here's some guidance. The most popular is nickel metal hydride rechargeable batteries. They are far more powerful than they were in the past, and they're available in almost all the standard sizes for that can replace the typical throwaway battery. You want to look for high capacity. Some of them are labeled high capacity. And again, there's not a systematic rating system, but the best way, and if you're specifying them, you would want to specify a minimum milliamp hours on the battery. You can sort of see it up there. Right under where it says AA is usually where the power rating of the battery is. Sometimes not on the battery itself, and sometimes on the packaging, and sometimes it's not at all, but usually it is. And you want to avoid nickel cadmium because the cadmium is a persistent toxic chemical. The other thing that's really interesting, and San Francisco has a very aggressive policy on using rechargeable batteries. At one point, their policy actually banned all single-use batteries, and then people within the departments went a little crazy, and there was a lot of pushback, and then they started a process to try to figure out, well, what are the best rechargeable batteries? Where do we really need them? Which applications can we not replace with rechargeable batteries? And so they really started looking and aggressively pilot testing the different products. And so one of the things they learned about was this hybrid battery, which is commonly, it's also called low self-discharge rechargeable battery. Because one of the problems with rechargeable batteries is, say you have a flashlight and it's sitting in the drawer, and you have a rechargeable battery, it will slowly drain down so that by the time you need that flashlight, the rechargeable battery doesn't work, or it doesn't work for very long. And that's one of the reasons why people don't like them. And so this battery has all the advantages of a typical alkaline battery, and that it doesn't lose its charge, or it's very low. It's a shorter, much shorter drain for when it's not being used in between its charging cycles. And but it may not be available in all sizes. So San Francisco has this on its SF approved list, and they really are promoting the use of this particular type of battery. So which types of equipment work best with rechargeable batteries? So there's some where the performance is really the limiting, and then factor, and some is really the cost. Would you replace it if it's something where you're only going to be replacing the battery once a year? And actually, let me just go back and say one other thing about San Francisco's program that's really interesting, and I thought it was very illuminating. San Francisco had a certain price that they were paying for single-use batteries. And they, like everyone else, had this minimal discount on the rechargeables. They actually went out to bid and really were aggressive in the way they said, we're going to switch to rechargeable batteries largely. So they increased their projections of usage for the rechargeable batteries. They were able to get rechargeable batteries almost at the same price that they were paying for the single-use batteries because they got a greater volume discount. It's when you're buying stuff in really little quantities that you're paying a higher price because you're not able to negotiate a much better discount on those products. So they're using them in these types of applications, the wireless mice, the telephone headsets, all these things you'll go through a relative number of batteries, but it's not got so much power that some of the rechargeables won't work. Pagers, calculators, non-emergency flashlights. There's been an effort, actually a discussion regionally, where different people, EPA's been testing some alternatives, Alameda County has been, Santa Clara was testing some, and San Jose, and so we're hoping to aggregate some of that data together to really benchmark and get the results of those best practices. Which rechargeable batteries did you use? How long did you have to, like, when did you, at what frequency did you need to change it? What's the best equipment? What's the best brand? Just all that information so that people don't have to recreate the wheel and start over. One thing I did show is there's an example of something that has a built-in battery charger. So anytime you can have that is good. They can be used in the paper towel and soap dispensers and the washroom faucets. And some of the equipment that's battery operated is stuff that's used in the field. And so one of the things that's been a strategy for increasing usage is getting chargers that actually can plug into a truck and have the charger right in the truck. Because the concern is, I'm going to be going all the way out into the field and I'm not going to have this. So sometimes what they'll do is they'll have a spare set of rechargeable batteries in the truck, in the charger that's plugged into the cigarette lighter, and then they have the fresh rechargeable batteries there, so you always have a backup. Other times they might just get a single use as a backup, but they use it as far as they can use it. So there's different strategies to make sure people feel comfortable and they're not going to be left kind of high and dry and far from anywhere without functional equipment. Let me just say one thing. The calculator is there not just because it works on calculators, but also you want to calculate the cost savings that you're going to get from different types of equipment. Which equipment is challenging for rechargeable batteries? So emergency equipment, you want to be careful with that, because if it doesn't work, then that could be a real problem. Medical devices, smoke detectors, emergency exit signs, any of those things where it's a low draw, it's going to be sitting up there for a long time, like a clock also, or just the risk of it not working is too great to, especially if you're not familiar with how the rechargeable batteries work and how long they're going to last. And some applications may not be cost effective if the batteries are changed out only very infrequently. The chargers get plugged into the wall. They use energy, and so there is an ENERGY STAR standard and certification program for battery chargers. So the most important thing, get one that is ENERGY STAR rated. And not all the ones that are on the big office supplies and hardware supplies contracts are. So you may want to check, or there's some work that we're going to be doing to really move them to at least have them better labeled, more consistently labeled, which ones are ENERGY STAR, and even to try to get them taken off the contract if they're not ENERGY STAR rated, because you want to make sure they have good performance. There's different features, different lights that can tell you if the battery is charged or not charged, so you can look at those in the different features. You want to get models that work with all the battery sizes, so to answer your question, that you need, and that hold the number of batteries. So the capacity of the charger can change. So if you're only using a couple batteries in that application or even in that whole office, you could get a smaller one. Or if there's lots of different equipment that you think is going to need to get charged at the same time, then you may want to get one that can accommodate a greater number of batteries. Then you want to look at whether the charger works with a specific type of battery chemistry. Most of the chargers will work with a specific type, with nickel metal hydride being the predominant charger type. And again, if it's a battery that's part of the equipment, then it's probably going to have its own separate charging system. There are quick chargers, so ones that will charge up your batteries within 15 minutes, and you just want to be careful with those because they can run the batteries down and may not last as long with those. Also, sometimes when you're buying a charger, it'll come with batteries. Usually those are not they don't have the highest power rating. So you want to look at that. So it seems like you're getting a deal, but you want to make sure that those batteries actually are not just something, old batteries that are kind of thrown into the pack. So you really want to look at those so you get a good quality battery. And then consider the in-vehicle chargers if you think you're going to want to use the charger in your vehicle. Incorporate battery recycling into your contracts. Donna's going to talk a little bit more about this, but I'm going to just go into a couple of main issues here. So you can require or give preference to vendors that agree to collect and recycle batteries. So it could be that you're sold the batteries and they agree to take them back. Now, a lot of batteries are sold through Office Depot and things like that. Right now, there's not systems for them to take, the vendors to take it back. So what you may want to do is request a recycling plan to be included in the bid, maybe not require it, to see if they will do that. You can ask for a one-to-one recycling credit, or request cost information, or you could require it to be recycling to be provided for free. And they may just come back and say, we're going to set you up with the RBRC program, for at least for the rechargeables. The second strategy is that you can set up the Rechargeable Battery Recycling Corporation's Call to Recycle program. And this is a no-cost, generally no-cost program for communities, agencies, and businesses. And so basically they'll send you one of these boxes. Have you guys seen those boxes before? And really the challenge is that people want to they don't know if their battery is rechargeable or not rechargeable. They want to throw everything into the box. And I think there's some movement to try to come up with a national system to allow people to do that, because that's the most convenient thing to be done. It accepts rechargeable batteries and cell phones, and there's some work being done in different jurisdictions. Palo Alto is giving credit to their vendors that offer to recycle their batteries and products and packaging. So sometimes if you use a bidding system that can give extra credit for things, then you can incorporate that into it. There's lots of companies that participate in the RBRC program. It's interesting, I've been to Europe, and when you go to Europe, anytime you buy a battery, they will take your old batteries back. It's just a matter of course, and they have a law that requires them to do that, so it's just pretty much universal. Almost every hardware supply store will do that. Here, we haven't gotten there yet, but we're working on getting them to move in that direction. San Francisco's Sustainable Battery Ordinance, I mentioned a little bit, here's a little bit more detail on that. What it does is it requires a city department that purchases or contracts to purchase batteries that they will also purchase. So if you're going out to bid for anything that's either a battery or a product that contains a battery, then you're required, oh, hello. I don't think I can, they're doing that. Great. So if you're going out to bid for a product that is a battery or contains a battery, then you are required to purchase a rechargeable nickel metal hydride battery or another rechargeable battery type that is acceptable. And the acceptable types are listed on the SF approved list. They're from vendors that collect spent batteries and recycle them in accordance with the law, and products that must be accompanied by recycling instructions, and the battery must be easily removable. Now, it doesn't always get 100% implemented, but this is the goal of their strategy and of their policy. And I've worked with them, and they do go through their contracts and work to put this language in there to make sure that the rechargeable batteries are available readily on their contracts. So, how do you performance test rechargeable batteries? As I mentioned, we have this battery usage form. So again, you want to look at the battery types and the numbers the dollars that you're spending, so you can figure out where you're going through a lot of batteries, how frequently you're replacing. So what is that equipment that's really chewing up a lot of batteries that might be a good candidate for rechargeables? And identify the best applications, and then test different rechargeables. You can test different brands. You could try the hybrids versus the non-hybrids, and then document your procedures and cost savings so that you can come out with a nice little case study to report on and share information with other communities. Hey, we tried this in these types of applications, and this is what worked really well. So you want to calculate the savings, so you want to look at the overall life cycle cost of ownership. So for batteries, you'd look at what's the initial price of the rechargeable versus the non-rechargeable battery. How often do you have to replace it? So what is the replacement cost over a certain period of time? You could pick a year, 2 years, or 3 years. And then is there any maintenance savings by going to either rechargeables or non-rechargeables? It may take a little bit more maintenance actually to use rechargeables if you're having to take them out more often, or it could be the other way around. It could be the maintenance savings would be greater with rechargeables. So you want to document that. And then any end-of-life costs associated with disposing of or recycling of the single-use batteries versus the rechargeables. And that's it.